If the Oregon Trail video game can be believed, the 19th century American frontier was a dangerous place. Nevertheless, enterprising folks still tried their luck during the seemingly endless westward expansion. Unfortunately, for at least a dozen unsuspecting travelers, their stop at an inn in Labette County, Kansas, would be the end of the road for their frontier dreams. Welcome to Macabre Storytime, where I tell my friends some of the weirdest, most brutal, spine-tingliest cases they've never heard of. Welcome,
everyone.
You said that kind of like Dracula? Is it because it's
Halloween,
the week before Halloween?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's cool. You're getting into the spirit. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Piper did just show me her Halloween costume.
You gotta get in the mood.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. You know, we were gonna do a theme in 2020 because I started at Enterprise in 2019, and they're like, "Oh, next year we're gonna do a whole team costume," and like everybody handed out like who's gonna be what, and it was Wizard of Oz, so it was perfect. And
who are you?
We all know what 2020 was gonna bring.
Yeah. Who were you?
I don't remember.
How do you not remember? That's like Wizard of Oz is like your favorite thing in the world.
Dorothy. That's all I remember. Matthew was going to be the lion.
If you were going to, I thought you were going to say Matthew was going to be Dorothy. I'm like, hey, that is very progressive. I like it.
It is, but no, Matthew was going to be the lion. I just remember that.
That's what I would want to be, is the lion.
Well, he's the only boy. So.
Okay, the Tin Man was a boy. Scarecrow was a boy.
Most of them were boys, but we assigned him the lion. Is all I'm saying. Okay. He's also pretty, tall, and
gotcha.
He would fit the lion the best.
Can you do the voice?
Probably not.
Okay, well, whatever. Well, as stated, it is not technically when we're recording this, but technically when this is releasing, the week before Halloween. So, I got something for you here that a little creepy, little kooky.
We talking about the episode? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
a little crazy.
Okay. Who are you?
Didn't we already do that?
No.
Oh, I thought we did. I don't know why I thought we did. Oh, no. I got distracted because you sounded like a vampire. I was about to do it, and then you sounded like Dracula.
I was trying to be, in the mood, in the moment.
Sorry, I got distracted.
Okay, who are you?
I am Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
I am Rhonda.
I don't remember what was happening. I was telling you that it's a little kooky, a little spooky, a little murdery, a little bludgeony, a little bloody, because we're going to talk about the Bloody Benders.
Benders. Not the Baron? Not the Bloody Baron?
Not the Bloody Baron. The Bloody Benders. Okay. Do you know the Bloody Benders?
I do not.
Never heard of them?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Interesting. They're not from too far away, so that's why I said interesting.
In time or in location?
Location. We are going to go back in time.
Okay.
You know me. I like old-timies. This old-timey case is taking us to 1870. So, in October of 1870, 5 spiritualist families landed in Labette County, Kansas, to homestead.
How did they land there?
Probably took a wagon of some sort.
Did the wagon have wings? Because they landed.
No, dingleberry. Now, Labette County is almost the southeasternmost county in Kansas. It's one county over from the corner. Okay, so we're still just a skip and a jump from Missouri in this instance.
Hop, skip, and a jump, or just a skip and a jump?
Well, it's 2 counties over, so I'm going to go skip and jump.
Okay.
So you skip to the next county, and then you jump into Missouri.
Okay.
Right?
No hops.
No. That's if you were in Montgomery County, which is 1 county further west.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So Labette County is where our family takes root, so to speak. Before these homesteading families got there, the Osage Native Americans lived there.
Yes.
And, of course, they were moved to Oklahoma under the Homestead Act of 1862.
Y'all in my way. I want to move here.
Right.
So you get out.
Well, this was basically so European immigrants could settle the land and work towards the emerging American dream.
What about the people that already live there?
Oh, they don't count.
Okay.
Silly. What do you think this is? Almost Indigenous Peoples Day?
Almost.
Anyways, so they took the Native Americans and they plucked them out and they plopped them in another place, that place being Oklahoma. And these families, they landed in and around the township of Osage. See, at least they named the town after the people who they stole the town from. That's something.
That was nice of them.
Right?
I mean, they were such nice guys.
Obviously. So this town of Osage, it's about it was about 7 miles northeast of the soon-to-be established town of Cherryvale, which still exists to this day. Cherryvale does. And as of the 2020 census, it had a little over 2,000 residents in Cherryvale, Kansas.
Tiny little Kansas City.
Just a little nook. Now, one of these homesteading families was the Benders. And the family consisted of John Bender Sr., his wife, Elvira, their son, John Jr.
Why are you quoting John Jr.?
We'll get there.
But they didn't see you give air quotes.
But they heard it in my voice.
Okay. Okay, move on.
So we have John Sr., Elvira, their son, so you can hear it, John Jr., and their daughter, Kate. No quotes on daughter.
Okay.
Now, John Sr. registered for 160 acres of land adjacent to the Great Osage Trail, which was the only open road for traveling west. So primo placement for this plot of land, right? Now, Senior and Junior came first to the land. They built a cabin, a barn, a well, and a corral. Then Elvira, who is also known as Ma Bender, and Kate joined the male Benders in early 1871. I don't know where from, but they were not there, and then they were there.
They landed there.
That's all that matters.
They're aliens.
Maybe. That would explain a lot. When we get to the end, you're going to see that might explain a lot. So
they said they landed there. So
no, I said that.
Well, you're they.
I don't think they use that terminology.
Well,
they're not like, we have landed when they got there.
Well, what they said, I assume that is what you're saying because you're doing the research on these things.
Well, yeah, but I'm not stealing their words.
What's the difference between they and...
Okay, anyway. As for the cabin that they built, it was a modest one-room building measuring 16 feet by 24 feet with a 9-foot ceiling and a canvas wagon cover dividing the space into 2 rooms. Okay. The family used the smaller back room as living quarters and the larger front room as a general store, where they sold dry goods such as tobacco, crackers, sardines, candles, and gunpowder.
Who are they selling to?
People on the trail. And maybe even, other people in the town. There's a handful of them.
Okay.
But yeah, they're like I said, they're right on this Osage Trail, which is the only road going west at this point.
Gotcha.
You can't go jump on I-40 and head to California.
That's a bummer.
Not that I-40 goes to California, but you know what I mean. It's a start. So this front section, the general store, it also contained a kitchen and a dining table where travelers could stop for a meal and even spend the night. Probably not on the table. The meal, yes. Sleep, no. Just clarifying, because you're in a weird mood. So Ma,
you say I'm in a weird mood.
You're in a weird mood, yes.
Me?
Yes. Now, on this property, Ma and Kate also planted a 2-acre vegetable garden and apple orchard. Sounds delightful.
People are busy.
Lovely.
Running the store.
Well, they're homesteaders. That's what they do.
Well, I know, but
they stead their home.
That's a lot of gardening and stuff.
What else are you going to do? It's not like you got, Netflix or an Xbox. You might be wondering at this point, who are the Benders? And I would say it's a fantastic question. In short, their real name wasn't actually Bender. And aside from the mother and daughter, well, they weren't related.
Okay.
She looks confused.
I'm very confused.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Her voice went very high. I thought we were questioning the son, not the mother and the daughter.
We're not. We know they're related. That's what I just said.
But we quoted. We did air quotes on the son.
We did.
Okay, moving on.
Now, at the time of his arrival in Labette County, John Sr., a.k.a. Pa Bender, of course, he was about 60 years old, and he spoke very little English. The English he did speak was classified as guttural and often unintelligible.
So nobody could understand him.
Right. Okay. Also, of Pa Bender, it has been said, quote, "The old man was a repulsive, hideous brute without a redeeming trait, dirty, profane, and ill-tempered."
Oh. So
yeah.
They loved him. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Had a fan club. And if you thought he was popular, wait till I tell you about Ma.
Oh.
Elvira Ma Bender was 55 years old and also spoke little English. She was called She-Devil by her neighbors on account of being so unfriendly.
Oh.
Of Ma Bender, it was said, quote, "Old Mrs. Bender was a dirty old Dutch crone. Her face was a fit picture of the midnight hag. Can't imagine why she was unfriendly to you." Calling me a hag.
Call her a friggin' hag.
How about you go fuck yourself?
I would be mean to you too.
Right. Next, we have John Bender Jr.
In air quotes.
In air quotes. He was around 25 years old, and he was considered quite handsome with his auburn hair and his mustache. Mm-hmm. His moustache.
Fanciness.
Yeah, you got to say it like that.
Moustache.
Now, he spoke fluent English, though he did have a German accent. He was, however, prone to fits of random laughter, which led many people to consider him a half-wit. That's a quote. And often likening him to a hyena.
Maybe he had Tourette's.
Maybe.
And
then we come to Kate Bender, who was about 23. She was considered very beautiful. She was considered very beautiful and was quite popular. Now, Kate spoke fluent English with almost no accent, and she claimed to be a healer and a psychic.
Uh-oh, I can get you in trouble.
Now, Kate would distribute flyers advertising her powers and her ability to cure illnesses, because you got to get, clients.
Yeah.
Got to drum up some business there. Now, one flyer I saw read, quote, "Miss Katie Bender can heal all sorts of diseases, can cure blindness, fits, deafness, and all such diseases. Also deaf and dumbness."
Oh, she's God.
Sure.
I mean, nobody can cure deaf and blindness.
Just telling you what she said.
Okay.
Now, she would also conduct seances and give lectures on spiritualism, which was a popular 19th century philosophy based on supposed communication with the spirits of the dead.
She had lots of talents.
She's very talented, young lady. You have no idea.
The girl of many talents.
Right.
With, Ma and Pa.
Mm-hmm. And John.
And little bro.
John Jr.
No, big bro.
Big bro.
He was 2 years older.
Yes. FYI, potentially why she was popular, not saying anything about it, just saying might be why she was popular. She also advocated for free love and denounced all social constructs surrounding the promotion of purity.
Mm.
She referred to these constructs as the, quote, miserable requirements of self-constituted society. And I gotta say, if we stop the story right here, I'm with her. This whole idea of purity and all this bullshit, I'm with you. But they don't stop the story here.
But we're not stopping the story here.
So I'm going to get off the Kate Bender train at this stop. Okay? I just want you to know, before we continue, I do not continue.
This is the last stop.
On the Kate Bender train.
Okay.
Okay? I just want you to know that.
Okay.
Now, Pa and Ma Bender generally kept to themselves, but John Jr. and Kate were, like I said, quite popular in the community. They regularly also attended a Sunday school in a nearby town. Very well known. Okay. Very well liked. The family was alleged to have been German immigrants, though no definitive documentation of their nationality or even really their relationships to each other have ever been found.
Is that what we air quoted?
We'll get there.
I need to know.
Actually, we're getting there right now.
Okay.
To this point, John Jr. and Kate, who alleged to be brother and sister, it's actually more likely that they were common law husband and wife.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. A Roman Catholic prayer book with notes written in German, so that's kind of a clue that they were German, was later found in the family's abandoned cabin with one inscription reading, Johanna Bender, born July 30th, 1848. Now, this person would have been 22 in 1870, so we can reasonably conclude that this is a reference to Kate. So that her birth name was Johanna, maybe, even though Bender is not their natural given last name.
Right.
But we can assume that this is in reference to Kate, because the person's the same age. Another inscription read, John Gebhardt came to America on July 1st, and then there was a couple question marks because I guess they couldn't read it. And we believe that this is in reference to John Jr. and that his real name is John Gebhardt. Okay. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to where we jump off the Bender train. Okay.
Okay. Let's jump off.
Yeah, we're done. We're off. It's like that movie Divergent, and they have to jump off the train when they become that one faction. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Anyways, so we're jumping off the train in early winter 1872.
Okay.
A man named George Newton Lonker left Independence, Kansas. I didn't know they had one too. Which is located in Montgomery County, which, like I said, it's one county west of Labette County. So that's the one that's a hop, skip, and a jump from Missouri. With his infant daughter, Mary Ann, to resettle in Iowa, but they never arrived at their new home. In the spring of 1873, George's former neighbor, Dr. William Henry York, went looking for George and Mary Ann after George's parents sent word to their son's former neighbors that he never arrived in Iowa. Dr. York had also been alerted to the fact that horses and a wagon similar to the ones that he had sold George for the journey were found abandoned near Fort Scott, Kansas. This is where we put our little fingers together in like one of those thinking pyramids. Mm-hmm. So Dr. York questioned homesteaders along the trail George and Mary would have taken from Independence towards Fort Scott. He reached Fort Scott, which is located in Bourbon County, which is a couple counties northeast of Labette County. So you can kind of visualize how they're traveling here.
Okay.
It was here in Fort Scott that Dr. York identified the abandoned horses and wagon as being those he sold to George. He also identified clothing in the wagon as belonging to the missing father and daughter. And it was from here, on March 9th, 1873, that Dr. York began the return journey home to Independence, but
never made it.
Exactly. Dr. William York, he was a member of a prominent Kansas family. So whatever happened to him was a big mistake. He had two brothers, Ed York, who lived in Fort Scott, and Colonel Alexander York, who, as the title implies, was a Civil War veteran, a lawyer, and member of the Kansas State Senate. Yeah. Pick your victims better next time. Both brothers knew of William's travel plans and began to search for their missing brother when he failed to return home. Colonel York and a squad of about 50 men questioned every traveler and homesteader along the trail between Independence and Fort Scott. It's a lot of questions.
Where's my brother?
Right. That's just, I don't know. But I guess there's so few people that it's easy to like hit them all. You know, it's not like neighborhoods are back there. Just in 2 miles, we'll come across the next one.
Yes.
On March 28th, 1873, almost 3 weeks after William York went missing, Colonel York arrived at the Bender homestead, and he asked if they'd seen his missing brother. The family would not admit that Dr. York ever stayed with them during his journey, but they suggested that there was a possibility maybe he'd run into trouble with some Native Americans.
Of course. Well, you know, kick them to Oklahoma.
Right. I mean, they didn't use the word Native Americans, but you know what I mean. I'm using the word Native Americans.
Those other people.
Those, barbarians. They're not barbarians. I don't know why you're looking at me like that. Anyways, and the colonel agreed that, you know, it was a possibility, but he wasn't completely convinced.
I'm sure he was not.
Right. Now, on April 3rd, Colonel York returned to the Bender's Inn with armed men because he had learned about a woman who had fled the inn after being threatened with knives from Ma Bender. Now, when confronted about the accusation, Ma Bender appeared to be unable to understand the claim against her due to her lack of English skills. But John Jr. and Kate denied these claims. Did not happen that way. So York, for some reason, repeated the claims, and Ma Bender became enraged and claimed in English that the woman was a witch who cursed her coffee. And then she ordered these men to leave her home.
Cursed her coffee, huh?
Yes. I mean, I would fuck up a bitch that cursed my coffee. Let's be honest.
I mean, your daughter claims to be a healer and a spirit talker. Like, I don't know, medium, whatever you want to call her.
Psychic?
Psychic, that's it. That's the word. Thank you. But yeah, this random lady that comes across your inn is a witch.
Yeah. What's confusing about that?
Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, we are. We are on the same page. I'm on the side and you're on that side. It turns out Ma Bender wasn't really as inept with the English language as she liked to lead people to believe.
She wasn't.
You're right.
What? No comprendo.
Right, that's not German, but okay.
Nein.
So the men with Colonel York, they believed that the Benders and, for some reason, a neighboring family named the Roaches were guilty, and they wanted to hang them all.
Guilty of what?
Dr. York's disappearance. Okay. But the Colonel, he's a good guy, he insisted that they have to have evidence. This is the tiny little thing. Tiny little thing we need first. And then I'm with you guys.
You're all guilty. But I guess we need evidence.
Yeah, let's just find some evidence first, and then I'll be on board with hanging them. But before these men left the Bender's home, Kate pulled the Colonel aside, and she asked him to return the following night alone so she could use her psychic abilities to help him find his brother.
Why does he have to be
very, very nice of her.
Why does he have to be alone?
Maybe all the other men would scare her juju away.
Maybe, yes. That's, definitely the case.
Definitely not because they wanted to murder him.
No, never.
No. Now, around the same time that Colonel York was looking for his missing brother, neighboring communities began to accuse the Osage community of maybe being responsible for, like, a slew of disappearances. It's so weird. It's like they go through from one end, but they don't come out the other end. It's just a one-way.
It's a one-way ticket.
There's only one way to go. Like it's just one road.
But they don't make it to the other side.
Exactly.
There's a
there's a black hole that just sucks them out of the universe, right in the Osage Township.
Yep. Probably right at that general store.
But not the Osage Township residents. They are not affected by said black hole.
No.
I don't understand why you're insinuating that this black hole exists solely in the Bender's Inn.
Oh. Never. Would I insinuate something?
I mean, you did, but whatever. So the Osage Township arranged a meeting in a nearby schoolhouse where 75 locals, including Colonel York and both male members of the Bender family, were in attendance at this meeting, okay? After discussing the numerous disappearances in the area, including that of Dr. York, the township, all these people who were at this meeting, collectively decided that they were going to get a warrant to search every homestead between Big Hill Creek and Drum Creek, wherever those are. Somewhere
in Kansas.
Somewhere there's one on this side and one on that side. Now, even though Colonel York was highly suspicious of the Benders, for his brother's disappearance, shockingly, nobody kept an eye on them. It wasn't until days later that anyone noticed the Bender family had fled.
That's what innocent people do.
Maybe they were a victim of the black hole.
Yes.
3 days after the meeting, a man named Billy Toll was driving cattle past the Bender property when he noticed that the inn was abandoned and the farm animals were unfed.
Just left your animals to die.
Yeah, that's just... Don't fuck with animals, man. Toll reported this, what he saw. But due to inclement weather, it was several more days before the issue could really be investigated.
Did they at least feed the animals?
I guess so. Several hundred volunteers, including Colonel York, came together to search the abandoned property. When they arrived, they found the cabin was completely devoid of food, clothing, and personal possessions.
They took everything.
It was a big black hole. Just sucked it all out of there.
Sucked it all out, except the actual building itself.
Yeah. Which point?
Just making sure our listeners understand what.
We all know what's going on. Okay. The search party also noticed a foul odor in the air in the cabin. And they traced it to a trap door that was hidden underneath a bed. A trap door that was nailed shut.
That's never good.
I'm sure it's fine. Upon opening the trap door, the searchers found clotted blood on the floor. There was essentially a whole ass room under the cabin through this trap door. The room measured 6 feet deep, 7 feet square at the top, and 3 feet square at the bottom.
So it was like a tunnel, like a funnel.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of like a not a parallelogram, a trapezoid. Kind of like a trapezoid. The volunteers broke apart the stone slab floor in this trapezoid, searching for bodies, because, there's blood and it stinks to high heaven. But they didn't find any. They determined that the smell was most likely from the blood that had seeped through the floor and into the soil. There's no bodies.
How'd the blood get down there on a nailed trapdoor?
I'm getting there. Now,
sorry.
Would you like to read this?
I have questions.
So next, the search party began probing the ground around the cabin with metal rods, focusing especially on some disturbed soil in the vegetable garden and apple orchard.
Of course,
I'm just going to say on record right now, while I do like apples, I would not want their apples. Okay.
I want your apples.
I don't want your death apples. Whoops, gave it away. So
you could wash it down with your death water.
You can wash it down with your death water. So later that evening, Dr. William York's body was found, buried face down in a shallow grave that barely covered his feet. Like it just barely got his feet covered with dirt. And he was in the orchard. Could you not, like, push his feet down at least a little bit? Could they have cared less? They're just like, whatever. This is our 89th person. It's fine.
It's all good.
So the party continued their search until midnight, and they marked 9 more suspected grave sites that they wanted to investigate in the light of day. So the next morning, searchers returned, and they found 8 bodies in the suspected graves and 1 body and several body parts in the well. Now, this brings me to the question that I do not have the answer to. Were the bodies already in the well for like a while, and they literally had a well of death water?
See?
Or did they just, on their way out, like, oh, I got to put this somewhere, and chuck them in the well? Because I don't want to think about anybody drinking well water that has dead things in it. Like dead, rotting corpses of people you have killed and put in the well, and then you use that water for things.
For things.
Think about the people who ate at that inn and they're using that water to like cook shit. Mm-hmm. You're eating death water boiled food.
Yes.
You.
No. Just think of the people at the Cecil Hotel that drink the water from the... I don't want to. Bathed in that freaking water for weeks.
Tastes weird, man.
Like, one of the biographies, not biographies, one of the documentaries I watched on it, like, had a couple, like, that had stayed there and they were drinking that water, and it was... Ugh.
I imagine that they... just dry heaved for days after hearing about it.
Never want to eat again. Never want to drink water. No, I don't. I'll die.
I am only drinking. I am only drinking bottled water for the rest of my life.
Showering with bottled water.
Do not judge me.
So, you want my theory, or you have something else to tell me?
About what?
This.
Oh, the wells? Or the well? The bodies in the well? Okay, go for it.
Okay. My philosophy, my brain thinking is, that little...
My brain thinking. You could just say my thoughts. We know they come from a brain.
Anyway, the little thing under the bed, the trapdoor.
Yeah.
People were like chucked down there when they died, and that's why it smelled, and that's where blood came from. And they were just chucked down there, and they were just like a storage. Mm-hmm. So they put it down there, and it was cold down there. So, they didn't decomp as much. But when, they went to this, city hall meeting, and they're like, we're going to check out everybody's houses. They're like, oh crap, we got to get out of town. So chuck bodies in the well and let's leave.
But if you're amscraying, just leave it there. Like, who cares? You're leaving.
Maybe they didn't think about that.
I don't know. They thought about it a lot. We'll get there.
Okay. That's
just the theme of this episode. We'll get there.
Hey, I'm supposed to have questions.
I know. I'm just saying. We'll get there. So, as for all of these bodies that they found, all but one body suffered from these same injuries: a smashed skull and a cut throat.
They were nice guys.
Yeah. And girls. There were girls there. There was one difference, and that was a young girl who was found with no obvious injuries sufficient enough to cause her death. It was suspected that she was either strangled or buried alive.
Ooh.
Why did you say that so excitedly? Ooh.
It wasn't meant to come out like that.
Well, it did. And we all heard it.
It was more of a ooh that was supposed to come out. It wasn't supposed to be exciting.
Well, it was.
Buried alive would not be fun.
No, it would not. So a Kansas newspaper reported that the searchers were so enraged at what they found that a friend of the Benders, who was also, interestingly enough, a member of the search party, a man named Brockman, that he was hung from a beam in the inn until he was unconscious before they revived him, interrogated him, and hanged him again.
What are they interrogating him for?
Because he's a friend of theirs. He must know something. I don't know. But they did this 3 times. Hang, unconscious, revive, interrogate. Hang, unconscious, revive, interrogate.
Seriously, people?
Yeah. They did it 3 times until they finally released him and allowed him to stagger home. All kinds of woozy from that.
I mean, you hung me 3 times to unconsciousness.
To unconsciousness, right. And it wasn't even for happy fun times. Did you get your water swallowed? Okay.
Just in time.
Just in time. Okay. Now, word of the grisly findings spread quickly, and more than 3,000 people, including reporters from as far away as Chicago and New York, descended on the site. Of course they did.
Of course.
Just like with Belle Gunnis.
Mm-hmm.
The cabin was literally destroyed by people hunting for macabre souvenirs. Yeah. Shaking her head over there.
Evidence, people.
Yeah.
Evidence.
Souvenir.
Evidence.
You call it evidence. I call it a souvenir. Tomato, tomato.
All that vegetables, and apples growing out there, and death, body, soil.
Body tomatoes.
Yum. Gross. Not even were they using that water and from the well. They were using the vegetables and everything to cook with.
Yes, that is true. They took everything, including the bricks that lined the cellar and the stones that lined the well. They literally left no stone unturned. Literally. Now that the murderous family was on the loose, Colonel Alexander York, remember, Kansas state senator and brother of the murdered Dr. William York, he offered a $1,000 reward for the family's arrest. This reward today, in 2023, would amount to over $25,000. So it wasn't anything to sneeze at.
Okay? It was a good reward.
Good reward. On May 17th, 1873, Kansas Governor Thomas Osborne offered a further $2,000 or $500 per person, which would be more than $51,000 today, for the apprehension of the Bender family. So it's $3,000 total. Because York offered $1,000 and the governor offered another $2,000.
Wait, you said $500 per person, so you mean $1,000 per person?
No, so...
Oh, there's 4 members. Never mind.
There are 4 members.
Never mind.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I was just thinking of the mom and pa.
Oh, no, all 4 of them.
Got it.
I don't know why. No.
I forgot about the kids.
Yeah, I don't know how. So let's get to the family trade, as I call it. How did they kill their victims?
Smash and slash.
Okay, well, I'm going to change the name of this episode to The Bloody Benders. Smashin' and Slashin'. Are you breathing? I'm 100% naming it that. Smashin' and Slashin'. No G, just a little apostrophe.
Perfect.
So yes, essentially, but more specifically, how did they get to the smashing and slashing?
What made them start?
Well, not even that. Just how did they get to that point? They weren't just like talking to someone and like whack upside the head. It was a little more conniving than that.
No, I would never think these people would be conniving.
Right? They're psychics.
I mean, she's a healer and a psychic.
Yeah.
And Ma and Pa are just upstanding citizens running their general store out of their house.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Exactly. Where are we here? So it is believed that when a guest stayed at the inn, the family would give their guest a seat at the table that was positioned over the trap door with that canvas, what is it called? Curtain, with that canvas curtain to their back.
Gotcha.
Kate would distract the victim. Remember, she's very charming and beautiful. And these are almost entirely men.
Of course.
So there's that. So she would distract them while either senior or junior would come from behind the curtain and strike the victim in the head with a hammer. Then one of the women would cut the victim's throat before dropping them in the trapdoor.
Okay.
Once in this cellar under the cabin, the body would be stripped and then buried somewhere on the property, usually in the orchard, in the dark of night. It has also been suggested that many victims were, the term that I found to describe this was indecently mutilated. So, just gonna let your mind figure that one out.
I don't want to figure that one out.
Too
Are
bad.
we going back to the last episode?
No, we are not. You've already figured it out, so it's fine. There were also about a dozen bullet holes found in the cabin, which were thought to be basically from some of the victims trying to fight back. They did not win. So
They did not. Mm-mm.
So we think this was their MO because of testimony from some living boarders that had escaped a similar fate. One man, his name was William Pickering, said that he had refused to sit near the curtain dividing the cabin because it had stains on it. Like, how hoity-toity are you? but whatever, it saved your life, so that's fine.
I want to sit over there. It's got
Right.
dirty.
So I imagine everything in this time period was dirty, though. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm going to sit over there. It's dirty, but, everything's dirty.
there's the floor is probably just dirt. Like,
Yeah.
there's dirt in your food. I guarantee you.
I mean, that's the old time.
It's the Old West, for crying out loud.
Yes.
Like, what? Anyway, so he didn't want to sit there, and that led to, in his story, Kate Bender threatening him with a knife. So he amscraped.
Okay, bye.
He's like, peace out. Next, we have a Catholic priest named Father Paul Ponziglione. It's fun to say.
Say that again.
Paul Ponziglione. He claimed that he saw one of the Bender men hiding a hammer, which he didn't feel great about.
I wouldn't eat it.
Made him a little uncomfortable.
Why are you hiding a hammer?
Right. What you doing with that big old hammer over
What
there?
you doing?
So he made his excuse to leave, and he left.
It's like, oh yeah, I forgot the oven on.
You know what? I've got what's a Catholic thing? Communion coming up. Yeah, I gotta go do that because I'm Catholic and communions are Catholic, so I gotta go.
I have to go make a confession.
What's a Catholic thing? Another two men claimed to have traveled to the inn to partake in Kate's psychic abilities and were then invited to stay for dinner. Though they did refuse to sit by the cloth, and they instead ate their dinner at the counter in the store.
Probably a good call.
Probably, yeah. Kate allegedly became verbally abusive towards the pair, after which both of the Bender men emerged from behind the curtain. What you doing back there? The pair felt very uneasy after this interaction and decided to leave immediately.
Okay, bye.
Good idea. Now, as for the items left behind by their victims, the Benders would sell items such as horses, saddles, clothes, and any other items under the guise of selling things that people who were unable to pay with money used to pay their debt.
I mean, it's a good excuse.
Yeah, I mean, believable, I guess. So let's talk about some victims. Now we know what happened. We know how they did it. Let's talk about who they did it to.
Besides the doctor.
Right. Now, let's start at the beginning. And this is just known things. It's questionable whether or not there could have been more.
Probably was.
I see minimum of a dozen, but other count, I see like upwards of like maybe 20, like there's just, it's hard to say.
You never know.
So in May of 1871, the body of a man known as Mr. Jones was found in Drum Creek. So I guess that's close. With a crushed skull and a sliced throat.
Sounds familiar.
Where did that come from? Next, we have in February of 1872, 2 unidentified men were found on a prairie with a crushed skull and cut throat. Yeah, both of them. Weird. Just keeps happening. Everything else here essentially is in the fall of 1872. We don't have like exact dates for them. So first we have Johnny Boyle. He was from Howard County, Kansas, and he set out on foot from Osage Mission with $1,900 and a plan to buy some land. Well, he never returned home, and he never purchased any land, and his body was found in the well. So he's the guy in the well with the death water, making the death water.
Yum.
Next, in early November 1872, we have Henry Mackenzie, who was 29. He was relocating to Independence, Kansas from Hamilton County, Indiana.
Almost made it.
Almost there.
Almost there.
Literally just, 14 miles, it said, from Independence?
Yep.
He only had 40 cents on him when he stopped at the Bender's Inn, and his body was found buried in the orchard. Next, we have, also in November 1872, Ben Brown, who was also from Howard County, Kansas, and also found buried in the orchard. Next, we have W.F. McCrotty of the 123rd Illinois Infantry, who was also found buried in the orchard. Then we come back to kind of where this whole thing started, with George Newton Lonker and his 18-month-old daughter, Mary Ann. Now, George was a Civil War veteran, and it was thought that he was returning to his parents' home in his hometown in Iowa after the 1871 deaths of his infant son, Robert, and his wife, Mary Jane, who died after giving birth to their daughter, Mary Ann. George and Mary Ann were found buried together in the orchard. And obviously it's Mary Ann who is the one who was either strangled or buried alive.
Right. Well, at least they didn't crush her skull. And
yeah, I guess. Silver linings.
She's 18 months old. Poor baby.
Yeah.
But still, buried alive.
Yeah,
I don't think that's any better.
Yeah, probably not.
Just kill her.
Right.
If you're going to do it, just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Make her suffer.
Just snap my neck.
Yeah. 18 months old. She don't know anything.
Right. Anyways, that was fun. Let's talk about how to kill an 18-month-old. That's all getting cut. Then we come to John Greery, Red Smith, Abigail Roberts, and various body parts believed to belong to at least 3 additional victims, all of which were also found buried in the orchard. The bodies of 4 unidentified males were found in and around Drum Creek, all with crushed skulls and sliced throats, which is where that first body was found, in Drum Creek.
Right.
And then that brings us to the one who ended this whole thing, May 1873, with Dr. William York, who, as we said, was buried in the orchard.
Barely.
Right. Now, sadly, I know I'm saying that after talking about a bunch of people that got murdered. More sadly, how's that? More sadly, the bodies of Henry Mackenzie, William York, George and Mary Ann Lonker, and W.F. McCrotty were the only ones to ever be claimed. The rest of the victims were buried at the base of a small hill about a mile southeast of the Bender's Orchard. This hill is a part of a group of hills that is now known as the Bender Mounds. I feel like they could have come up with a better name for
yes.
that. Don't name
anything after them.
Don't name my burial site as a victim of these people after the people who killed me.
Right.
So we talked about what, how, and who. Let's talk about where, I guess.
How about why?
Oh, they're just sadists.
I want to know why. What was the point?
I mean, you could say for money. You could say for thrill.
I mean, what did they just want to steal?
Because not everyone had a bunch of stuff. Some people had some money and horses, and other people didn't really have anything.
So you just placed yourself amongst this long road to the west just to kill people.
I don't think they settled there to do this. I just think they were there and were like, why not?
It's a good idea.
Let's do it.
Let's kill people.
It's kind of a thrill. Woohoo!
It's like in Dogma. Let's do the next best thing. Let's kill people.
So let's talk about the escape now.
Okay. Where'd they go?
I don't know.
Thanks.
All right. Nice. Thanks for listening.
Okay, we're done. Where'd they go? I don't know.
I mean, it's true. I don't. So detectives followed some wagon tracks leading away from their abandoned property.
Okay.
And these tracks led to a town called Thayer, which was about 12 miles north of the inn. And at the end of these tracks, they found an abandoned wagon and team of starving horses.
So they abandoned them, just like the,
right,
farm animals.
Yes.
They don't need to eat.
Yeah. I mean, they don't care about killing people. You think they really care about these animals?
Probably not, yeah.
So a ticket clerk at the train station in Thayer confirmed that that a family matching the Bender's descriptions bought tickets on the Leavenworth, Lawrence, and Galveston Railroad, destined for Humboldt, Kansas. In Chanute, I looked it up how to pronounce it. If that's not right, then you need to fix the internet. Because it's
Google.
It's spelled like Chanute, but the internet told me it's Chanute.
Is it CH?
It is spelled CH, yes.
Okay.
But apparently pronounced like an SH.
That happens.
I don't know. Anyways, so if I'm wrong, yell at the internet, not me. John Jr. and Kate are believed to have left the train in Chanute and took an MKT, which is Missouri, Kansas, Texas, train south towards Red River County near Denison, Texas. And I just want to take a quick little sidebar to talk about the naming of these railroad lines. Let's see. It goes through Missouri, Kansas, and Texas. Let's call it the Missouri, Kansas, Texas line. Oh, this one, it goes through Leavenworth, Lawrence, and Galveston. Yeah, that's a good name. Leavenworth, Lawrence, and Galveston.
Hey, you can't get confused. You know where it's going.
I guess. It's just a little lame.
I want to take the Galveston, whatever, but I want to go to Illinois.
Why would you do that?
But you're not going there. That's the wrong train.
I just find it lame.
Well, you weren't naming these trains.
Obviously, I would have named him something way cooler.
Well, you're about 100 years born too late.
112. From the time this story started, not when the train was created. From there, Red River County, they are believed to have traveled to an outlaw colony near the border of Texas and New Mexico, though they were never pursued as law enforcement did not dare go into this outlaw colony. Any law enforcement that went in did not come out. So they were like, I'm just going to stay over here.
So we're good here, right?
Yeah, you guys just do your outlaw thing. Just don't go past this border. And we're going to stay on this side of the border. You stay on that side of the border. And we'll be fine.
Yep, we're good. We won't kill you. You don't outlaw us. We're good.
You outlaw in your zone. Okay? Just keep it in your zone. And we're good. One detective claimed that he traced John Jr. and Kate to the Mexican border, where John allegedly died of apoplexy, which is essentially the rupture of an internal organ. Maybe a spleen?
Maybe
his appendix?
Maybe.
That'll kill you.
Couldn't happen to a better guy.
I know, right? Now, Ma and Pa Bender stayed on the original train, allegedly, and continued north to Kansas City, where it's believed they bought tickets to St. Louis.
They came here.
That's what my mom said when I told her this. She was like, "Oh, don't come to my city." She didn't say it like that. She doesn't have a southern accent.
I'd love to see your mom's.
Right?
My city. Oh my gosh.
Not my city. Speaking of just another quick side note. Speaking of St. Louis, I find it both frustrating and hilarious that when I listen to other podcasts and they're talking about something that takes place in St. Louis, they always call it St. Louis. Like on a couple of episodes of Morbid, they were doing something in St. Louis and they kept saying, they're like, no, I think it's St. Louis. And
no,
I was
it's not.
The whole episode, every time they'd say St. Louis, I'd just go St. Louis. Like, I know you can't hear me, but St. Louis, St. Louis, St. Louis, St. Louis. And then both of the British podcasts I listen to, Red Handed and Dark Histories, they do the same thing. They call it St. Louis. And the whole time I'm just like, St. Louis, St. Louis, it's St. Louis, St. Louis, it's St. Louis.
No, it's St. Louis.
But don't worry, because their listeners promptly messaged them after the episode release to tell them it is St. Louis.
It's St. Louis. Not Louis.
Seriously, the whole
Louis.
time I'm just like, every time they said it, St. Louis. St. Louis. St. Louis. So just an FYI, it's St. Louis. We're not French. St. Louis. Not French anymore.
It is a French city, but yes.
Right. Anyways, so
we've evolved.
We have, yes. Evolved into dumb Americans like the rest of us. Or the rest of you, I guess. Anyway.
The rest of
Several vigilante groups were formed, of course, to search for the murderous family, and there are many stories about what happened to them. One story is that one vigilante group caught the Benders and shot all but Kate, whom they instead buried alive. Another group claimed they caught the family and lynched them before throwing their bodies into the Verdigris River.
Okay.
Yet another story claimed...
A
lot of stories. This story claimed that a group killed the Benders during a gunfight and then burned their bodies.
They didn't use guns. They used a hammer and a knife.
No, the vigilantes used guns to kill the Benders.
I know, but they said it was a gunfight, so wouldn't that assume that they both had guns?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Got it?
I gotcha now. Well, I mean...
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight?
If you have a knife and they have a gun, you can still call it a gunfight because there is a gun involved.
There is, yes.
But in spite of all of these stories of vigilante justice, no one ever claimed the $3,000 reward for the escaped fugitives.
Because they're all BS.
They lied. Now,
They just wanted to have stories.
right.
You know, back in my day, we got these Benders. We
shot them all. Woo-hoo!
We buried Kate alive. Just listen to her scream.
This brings us to 1884. And an elderly man, matching John Sr.'s description, was arrested in Montana for a murder committed in Idaho, where the victim had been killed by a blow to the head with a hammer.
Convenient.
I mean, I'm sure other people died that way.
I'm sure.
Now, a message was sent to Cherryvale, which, remember, it's the nearby town to Osage, to have someone come and identify the suspect, because we think this is Pa Bender. So, someone in Cherryvale was like, okay, here I come. But before the Cherryvale deputy could arrive and identify him, the suspect, well, he severed his own foot to get out of his leg irons. And then he bled to death.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So when the man from Cherryvale did finally make it to Montana, the man's identification was pretty much impossible due to decomposition.
So, yeah.
You took the trip for nothing, but welcome to Montana. Right.
Hope it was a winner.
Yeah, just hope you had a good time. Now, in spite of not being able to definitively identify this man as Pa Bender, the dead man's skull was displayed in an Idaho saloon in the town where this man killed somebody. labeled Pa Bender until the saloon closed in 1920 due to prohibition, of course. The skull has since disappeared after the saloon closed.
Somebody just stole the skull?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These weirdos take all these crazy souvenirs. Of course, someone took the skull.
How are you gonna... Never mind.
Just be like, this is Pa Bender's skull. Shh, don't tell anybody.
How are you gonna say this is his skull? Like, most skulls look fairly similar.
Yeah. Remember when I told you I would not be able to identify Frank's skull? Just his skinless skull.
Yeah. I mean, a skull looks like a skull, you know?
Yeah, unless you're a forensic anthropologist. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, see my skull? It's Pa Bender.
But people are...
You could find any skull and say that. I mean,
yeah, but
not
people,
that random
what's the name
skulls are just laying around.
What's the word I'm looking for? People are...
materialistic.
No, they believe everything. Gullible.
Gullible.
People are gullible.
They are gullible.
Now, the search for the murderous family continued sporadically over the next 50 years, and there are many stories of two women who were traveling together being accused of being Ma and Kate Bender.
She was 55 years old.
Yes.
I mean, she's going to be over 100.
Well, only if you're talking about at the end of that 50 years, yes. But through the course of time, I'm guessing the next maybe couple of decades, they'd be like, you must be Ma and Kate Bender because it's just two women.
Two women traveling together. Yeah. How dare you?
Now, for his 1910 book titled Celebrated Criminal Cases of America, San Francisco Captain of Police Thomas Duke contacted the police chiefs of Cherryvale and Independence, and he claims to have received the following responses. I'm going to read them to you, and then I'm going to get your take on this, okay? So, the first one, it's from Cherryvale. It says, June 14th, 1910. Dear Sir, yours just received. It so happened that my father-in-law's farm joins the Bender farm, and he helped locate the bodies of the victims. I often tried to find out from him what became of the Benders, but he only gave me a knowing look and said he guessed they would not bother anyone else. There was a vigilante committee organized to locate the Benders, and shortly afterward, Old Man Bender's wagon was found by the roadside riddled with bullets. You will have to guess the rest. I am respectfully yours, J.N. Kramer, Chief of Police. So that one's from Cherryvale. So the next one's from Independence. It reads, June 14th, 1910. Dear Sir, in regard to the Bender family, I will say that I have lived here for 40 years, and it is my opinion that they never got away. A vigilance committee was formed, and some of them are still here, but will not talk except to say that it would be useless to look for them. And they smile at the reports of some of the family having been located. The family nearly got my father. He intended to stay there one night, but he became suspicious, and although they tried to coax him to stay, hitched up his team and left. Regretting that I cannot give you more information, I am yours respectfully, D.M. Van Cleve, Chief of Police. So, before I get your take on it, I just want to point out, both letters are dated the same day. I find that odd.
Yes.
That they both responded on the exact same day. And not from, like, sitting next to each other. They're not like, you're writing it today, too? Oh, okay, I'll write it today.
Wasn't the chief of police's name similar, too?
One was J.N. Kramer, and the other was D.M. Van Cleve. Oh. So, no.
Just initials.
Initials. Thoughts. Okay, you're still thinking, so let me point out something else. They mentioned that the wagon was found riddled with bullets. However, I never saw anything in the sources that I looked at that mentioned the wagon they took to Thayer had been riddled with bullets.
I noticed that when you said it was riddled with bullets. I'm like, I don't remember that in the story.
Right. Because it wasn't in the story. That's why.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And the guy that, I guess the police chief, is his father's home is right next to their farm.
Right. That's what he said. His father-in-law.
Oh, his father-in-law. And then helped with like the body's recovery.
Yes. Because remember, this is 1910, so it's been close to 40 years.
Yeah. So it's just, sounds like they want closure. Was this the letter that said that they smile at?
It's the second one where they said they smile at the reports of having been located. In the first one, they just say that they're not going to bother anyone else, and their wagon was riddled with bullets.
Yeah, both letters seem to suggest that they're not out there anymore, that they have been killed off, basically.
Well, it's also interesting that both letters talk about this vigilante business.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are like, well, yeah, they were vigilantes.
So did the vigilantes, I guess, kill them off? Or
I think they just want to believe it, honestly.
just believe that they're gone and, you know, out of sight, out of mind?
They're gone.
Thing?
Vigilantes must have gotten them.
We don't need to worry about them anymore because they're gone.
I guess so.
Yeah, but it just seems like they want to believe that they're gone. Just like it's riddled with bullets, and they smile at the thought of them finding them, and you know they're not going to come back, you know, type things.
Yeah, they're gone. It's one of those. It's probably like one of those games of telephone where like one person says something to someone, and then the next person passes it on but changes it a little bit, and the next person passes it and then changes it a little bit more.
Yeah, 40 years later, you know.
And then the next thing you know, the wagon's been riddled with bullets, like they're Bonnie and Clyde.
That's what I thought of when you said that. It's like they found the wagon. No, they found the wagon with bullet holes, and now they found the wagon riddled with bullets.
And it's also, speaking of, you know, Bonnie and Clyde, whatever, it's the 1910s, so it's not quite to the organized crime era, but it's close.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine there's more guns around.
Probably.
Than just like your normal like hunting rifle and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that might be bleeding in a little bit to the, well, yeah, I was riddled with bullets. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
People,
does that make sense?
You know, talking more about guns.
They're taking what is normal to them in that era and extrapolating it on this previous era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there probably wasn't as many guns in the 1870s.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there were guns galore because they had to hunt. But wasn't it like the kind of gun where you had to like throw the little ball in there and then put your powder and then like stamp it down and then,
I mean,
get, like, you know what I mean?
The Civil War type. Yeah.
Well, this was 1870. The Civil War ended in 1865.
Exactly. So it's pretty close.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like they were just like automatic rifles. Just
yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't a Tommy gun.
I don't think it was riddled with bullets. I don't think that was.
I don't believe that either. Yeah. Now, several weeks after the discovery of the Benders' victims, kind of rewinding a little bit here, a dozen friends and neighbors of the family, who were all considered of bad repute in general, that's a quote, were arrested as accessories to the crimes, as they had been involved in disposing of the victims' stolen items, and in one instance, forging a letter from a victim to his wife, ensuring her that he had arrived safely at his Illinois destination. How dare you, sir? If I had a glove, I would take it off and slap you with it. This brings us to the kooky portion that I promised you in the beginning. This is going to get a little weird.
It's not already weird?
It's going to get a little weirder. There's going to be different identities and aliases. And
I mean, these weren't really Ma and Pa Bender?
Well, true. There is that. So, but other aliases, like past that. Okay. So in October of 1889, Mrs. Almira Monroe, also known as Almira Griffith for some reason, and Mrs. Sarah Eliza Davis were arrested in Niles, Michigan for larceny.
Okay.
Now, they were released after being found not guilty, but were then immediately rearrested for the Bender family murders.
Ma and Kate?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Now, according to the Pittsburgh, I almost said the Post-Dispatch. That's our newspaper. According to the Pittsburgh Dispatch, the daughter of one of the Bender's victims reported the duo to authorities in early October after tracking them down thanks to dreams she'd had about her father's death.
I mean, sometimes I guess.
Dreams.
What are you saying?
I'm saying not entirely believable.
But she tracked him down.
But who are they? They're They're just two women at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the two women's identities were then confirmed. See, you hear the quotes? You can hear it. By two Osage Township witnesses using a tintype photograph. So that's a picture on like a thin piece of metal, you know? Now, by mid-October, Deputy Sheriff Leroy, I'm sorry, is it Leroy or Leroy? It's big L, little E, big R, little Oi. What? Why are you laughing?
Little Oi.
I got that from NCIS when Denozo was spelling his name once, and he's like, big D, little I, big N, little Ozo. Would you say Leroy or Leroy?
Leroy.
Okay. You all right?
Yeah.
Little Oi?
Little Oi.
Just a little one. Little Oi.
Oi.
So Deputy Sheriff Leroy Dick, the Osage Township resident who headed up the search on the Bender's abandoned property, he arrived in Michigan to arrest the pair. On a dream.
I mean,
on October 30th, 1889, the pair was arrested, with Almira resisting heavily before finally being subdued by authorities. Sarah Davis claimed that Almira Moore was in fact Ma Bender, but that she was not Kate. She was her sister, Sarah.
mm-hmm.
You see, allegedly...
Throw her under the bus, but I'm innocent.
Not me.
She's guilty. I'm not. I'm good. I'm a good girl.
Right. I'm Sarah. I'm not Kate. So allegedly, Ma Bender had several children by several husbands. I think the number I saw was 12 children total.
Lord.
Including 5 daughters, of which Kate was, I believe, the youngest.
Okay.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could be her sister. You never know. But she's just, I don't know. It's not me. Now, Sarah signed an affidavit alleging this. But Almira continued to deny that she was Elvira Bender. And in turn, she accused Sarah of being Kate Bender. I just love that they're both immediately like, whoop, point the finger this way.
Nope. She's Kate.
I'm pointing this way.
I'm not. Ma.
I'm not Ma.
I'm not Ma.
I'm not that Ma. I'm a Ma.
I'm a Ma, not that Ma.
Not that Ma. Now, Deputy Sheriff Dick escorted the pair to Oswego, Kansas, where a panel of 13 people somehow confirmed the identification of Ma and Kate Bender and sent them to trial. They're not even from Oswego.
Why didn't they go back to Osage?
I don't know.
How are they going to identify them if they don't know who they are?
No. Maybe they all had a dream. One collective dream, the 13 of them. Now, another of Almira Monroe's daughters, Mary Gardy, later signed an affidavit claiming that her mother, who was then, at the time, known as Almira Shearer, though she often used the alias Almira Marks, like I said, lots of aliases, she had been serving a 2-year prison sentence in the Detroit House of Corrections in 1872 for the for the manslaughter of her daughter-in-law, Emily. And there were records to back up this claim. But Almira Monroe denied any knowledge of Almira Shearer or the manslaughter charge. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm innocent.
That ain't me.
Of that charge.
That ain't me. Now, by the time the trial came around in May of 1890, Almira finally admitted that she had in fact married a man named Mr. Shearer in 1872, and she now claimed that she initially denied that was her because she didn't want the court to know that she had a prior manslaughter conviction under her belt. But if you're guilty of that, you have to be innocent of this because you couldn't be in prison in Michigan in 1872 and in Kansas killing people.
Right.
Also in 1872.
Can't be in two places.
I would rather you know I am a murderer of that person who I've already served my time for murdering so that you know I am not the murderer of these people.
that's going to put me in jail for the rest of my life.
Probably going to hang me. Honestly, they're probably going to hang.
Sure.
So let them know. Like,
I didn't want them to know that I was the murderer.
it would look bad at my trial. No, you know what would look bad at your trial? Them thinking you're Ma Bender. If you literally physically cannot be her because you were in prison somewhere else, who cares? You could be in a brothel for all I care. You're not her. Then just be like, yeah, I literally cannot be her.
I was in jail. I wasn't killing people.
Right.
I killed people before. That's why I was in jail.
Right. I killed someone else. I served my time for it. I'm done. But I was not yet done. At the time, I was somewhere else.
Yes.
But I don't want you to know that. It just boggles my mind. I say that all the time.
Mind-boggling.
So mind-boggling. Now, a lawyer for the pair also produced a marriage certificate for Sarah Davis showing that she was married in Michigan in 1872, during the time when many of the Benders' murders were being committed in Kansas. Now, is it possible to travel from Kansas to Michigan, get married, and go back? Sure. But it's not fast. You're not taking an airplane.
No. It would have been a horse and buggy.
Yeah. It would have taken a while.
Mm-hmm.
You would have spent most of the year traveling to Michigan, having your wedding, and traveling back.
And why would you do that?
To throw suspicion? Like, what? No, that's ridiculous. Right. That's not going to happen. The trial's judge, Judge Calvin, he dismissed, this is very interesting, he dismissed Mary Gardy's affidavit, the daughter, the one claiming her mother was imprisoned several states away while the Benders were killing people. Mm-hmm. However, he found other affidavits from other people supporting this claim to be sufficient proof. I don't understand.
Your alibi for you being in prison wasn't enough proof, but these people random.
It wasn't even her alibi. It's her daughter said it. So I do not believe daughter of this person, but all these other people who say what you say is true, I believe.
I know, but
what?
Your daughter's giving you an alibi.
Mm-hmm.
The judge doesn't believe that, but he's going to believe all these random people that you don't even know.
I guess. But it's not even that the daughter is just like saying something and has nothing to back it up with. There are records to back it up. She's not just pulling this out of her ass. There are prison records for this.
Right. So like,
I don't understand why you're not going to believe her, but other people who are saying the same thing, you believe.
I'm in.
What? Anyway, so he found that this was sufficient proof, like I said. Almira, Monroe, Griffith, Shearer, Marks, whatever you want to call her, and Sarah and Sarah Eliza Davis could not possibly also be Ma and Kate Bender. It was also reported, by the way, that Almira spoke English with no accent, whereas Ma Bender, as we know, she struggled to speak English fluently and had an accent.
Yes.
Now, granted, it's been a while. It's been like 17 years. Can you get rid of an accent? Sure. I don't know if I believe that she would.
Right. It takes a while to get rid of an accent.
Especially as an older person. She was in her 50s when they took off. Like,
she's used to speaking that way. It's not easy to change.
Right, yeah. So I don't know if I buy that it would be her because of that. But anyways. But the judge, he discharged both women for the Benders' crimes. They got off again. It just kills me that they're both like, what? Not me, it's her. The only thing I can think of is, because why, if it's not you and your mom, and it's not your mom that are these people, why would you point the finger at the other one? You know? So it's just an odd thing to immediately be like, yeah, no, I'm not her, but she is definitely her. The only thing I can think of is maybe it was them, and it's just something that kind of like a passing thought I had. Maybe they kind of took the identities of people that they met, and Ma Bender happened to take the identity of someone who was, in prison at the time she was out there murdering people, so it would be like a really great alibi. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing, but I don't even know if I believe that.
That's what I was thinking, that they were taking identities of someone else to create an alibi, basically.
Right, because it would have been so much easier at that point. It's 1889. Like, you can just be like, yeah, I'm that person. It's not like they had social security numbers and...
Right, exactly. Like, it was much easier to say you were, John Smith or, whoever you wanted to be.
Just literally go to another town and be like, this is my name.
Right. There's nobody keeping track.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I was this person. She was in jail. You can't say I'm this person because I was in jail.
Right. But I don't know that they would have, like, sought that out. You know what I mean? Like, is it possible? Sure. Do I believe that's what happened? No. I don't think they were Ma and Kate Bender. I just find it odd that they would immediately point the finger at the other one, saying that they are, in fact, that person.
Right.
But I am not.
Exactly.
I just find that odd. Maybe they had a really tenuous mother-daughter relationship. Maybe they just really hated each other.
But you're traveling together, so...
That doesn't mean you don't hate each other. Sometimes you're just stuck. Now, to round this out, I will mention that also found in the abandoned cabin, when it was searched, were 3 hammers. A shoe hammer, a claw hammer, and a sledgehammer. They reportedly appeared to match the indentations of some of the murder victims' skulls.
This was a closet in the cabin?
It's just somewhere in the cabin. They found these 3 hammers.
Okay.
Now, so allegedly they are assumed to be murder weapons from the Bender's crimes.
Okay.
Now, the hammers were displayed in the Bender Museum in Cherryvale, Kansas from 1967 to 1978 when the site was acquired for a fire station. So they made attempts to relocate the museum, but this was a point of controversy because the town didn't want to forever be associated with these crimes.
But you named a mountainside by the Benders.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. But the hammers were eventually given to the Cherryvale Museum, where they do remain in a display case.
So the Cherryvale Museum has a Bender...
They have, like, I guess an exhibit as opposed to an entire museum for the Benders. It's just like, here's a little piece of our history. We're not going to dwell on it. We're just going to be like, yeah, it happened. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel York allegedly also found in this abandoned cabin a 4-inch knife with a tapered blade hidden in a mantel clock in the cabin. The knife was donated in 1923 to the Kansas Museum of History, though it is not displayed. You can see the knife, still bearing the reddish-brown stains, upon request, though. So you have to... I wonder how many people specifically asked to see this knife.
Excuse me, can I see the Bender knife?
Can I see the blood knife? It's just weird.
Excuse me.
Like, I would just be interested to call the museum and be like, quick question for you. Quick cue. How many people, annually, come in and specifically ask to see the Bender knife? Just want to know. That's all I want to know. Also, a historical marker relaying the story of the Bender's crimes is located in a rest area at the junction of U.S. Route 400 and U.S. Route 69 north of Cherryvale. And that is the story of the Bloody Benders.
So is that where the cabin was?
No, the cabin was not right there. The cabin, because remember, Cherryvale is about 7 miles from the township, the Osage Township.
Mm-hmm.
And this is it just says north of Cherryvale. So I imagine it's pretty close.
So do we know what happened to this cabin?
But remember, the cabin was destroyed by people coming for souvenirs.
Oh, yeah.
They literally...
They picked it apart.
Yeah. They literally, while they were searching for bodies, the search party, this is what I saw. I'm trying to visualize it. It's not making sense. But I read that they actually picked up and moved the cabin over so they could, search the ground. Okay. That's...
Hey, guys, come here. We got to lift this up and move it.
Can you just bring 75 to 100 of your friends?
Come on, guys. 1, 2, 3, lift.
Lift with your backs, guys.
Knees.
I know. It's a joke.
As everybody pulls their back. Oh!
Remember, it's 1873. They don't know.
Oh, hurt my back. Why didn't I bend with my knees? Yeah, they didn't know.
So yeah, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
I think I need to go to Cherryville, Kansas.
Really? No offense, Cherryvale, but why?
I just think it would be fun to see, like, to visit these locations.
Oh yeah. Like we could totally go to LaPorte, Indiana.
Exactly.
And check out where Belle Gunnis did her deal.
Yeah. I mean, I'm weird, so why not go to a murder site?
I mean, the Bender Mounds are there.
Yeah, the Bender Mounds, and then, right over here was the cabin with all the orchard and the vegetable patch where all these people were buried.
I wonder if there's like maybe a marker somewhere around where I didn't see anything, but
you'd think there'd be something.
I would think so, just because it's a historical thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nothing.
I mean, something happened there.
Yeah. And we're still talking about it to this day, 150 years later.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you think they escaped? Do you think they were gunned down by vigilantes? Do you think Almira and Sarah were actually Ma and Kate? Do you think Pa was the guy who cut his foot off? Do you think John Jr. died of apoplexy at the Mexican border?
I think they got away. I think the guy that cut his foot off was him, because that's a lot of effort to put in to not get caught.
Well, yeah, but he also, even if he wasn't Pa Bender, he still killed someone. So he was still on the hook for murder.
He did, but he tried to get away once he knew that they were getting people to come up there to identify him as Pa Bender.
Well, I don't know if he knew that. I don't know that they were like, we got someone from Cherryville coming up here to point the finger at you.
I love your accent.
Thank you.
That's my thought, is that he knew, so he's like, I'm getting away, so I'm cutting off my own foot, and
I don't care what's happening. I'm not cutting my own foot off.
Me neither.
This is not Saw.
This is why I don't watch that movie. I know you said you were watching it not too long ago, and I just can't, because I cringe when, I've watched off and on. I don't think I've ever watched a full movie, but it's like one of them is she puts her hands up in this thing, and like when she pulls them down, like the key's in there, and she pulls them down, and then there's blades that are slicing her wrist, and I'm like, it just makes me cringe.
Oh, I hide behind Frank's shoulder and then I peek out. So you think they got away? Pa cut his own foot off.
I think they got away. He got caught for murder, and I don't know if I think that the girls were them, but it could have been.
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think so.
And yeah, I mean, these people weren't even really related. I don't know how they got together.
Like I said, Ma allegedly had multiple husbands, so maybe he was just a guy, and they're like, I don't know, it costs too much money to get married. Let's just be
but they just found 2 kids on the road.
Well, remember, Kate and Ma Bender were mother and daughter.
Yes, but, random John Jr.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they just met him in a German community somewhere, and he and Kate got to. Fucked up people find each other all the time.
I know. It's even easier nowadays, but
right.
You'd think in the 1870s it wasn't as easy to find people like you.
Guess not.
I guess it was easier than I expected it.
I guess so. All right. Well, this episode is painfully long. So do you want to forego the decompression chamber?
We will forego it this time.
Okay. Didn't I tell a funny story at the beginning or something anyway? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got off on a fun tangent at the beginning. That's good. We decompressed you and then we compressed you with the story. So just listen to it backwards.
Rewind and listen to the front part again.
All right. It's definitely going to be our longest episode. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Macabre Storytime.
To stay in the know on all things macabre, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Macabre Storytime. Or you can email us at macabrestorytime@gmail.com.
If you're interested in supporting the show, remember you can head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/macabrestorytime.
You can support the show with one of 3 memberships. You can support us for $1 a month, and that will be a Death Water drinker. You can support us for $3 a month, and you can be a Mind Bobbler. Or you can support us for $5 a month, and you can join the Terrible People Club.
And as a Patreon supporter, you'll have exclusive access to bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes content, some of which I am in the thought process of, by the way. I haven't talked to you about it yet, but I think you'll be on board. Okay. Some stickers when we eventually get them in. And you can even live stream with us when we start that process.
Oh, we have to tell them about the YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube now. So every episode will be on the YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/@macabrestorytime. Or you can just go to YouTube and search Macabre Storytime. It's just the episodes that are going to be on the channel. And then if we have some bonus video stuff that we do, we can put it on there as well. Check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. And of course, rate and review the show wherever you get it. And once again, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, don't be a member of a murder family.
Don't trust random people at their murder house.
I trust no one. Bye.
Bye.
Sleep tight.